Alright guys, we're back on the D60 and we are doing the wheel bearing. We're going to remove the old races. I'll show you guys how to do that. We're going to pack the bearings, throw them on, everything on here, then we'll put the hubs together. I've already done this side. I didn't record it just because it's, yeah, kind of a pain. So we're about to pound the bearing races out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a pry bar. We're just going to catch the inside of this race, and then we're going to pound it out. We're going to do both sides pretty equally. Just like that, that one's out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And just like that, we're done. So now we're going to go ahead and clean this out and unpack the bearings and get everything going. Alright guys, we're going to be running the Kingpin wheel bearing kit. This kit comes from ORD. It's pretty easy, comes with wheel bearing, or a wheel seal as well. I don't have a seal driver that's big enough to pound the inside wheel bearing in, but we'll just do that with a punch. It's real easy, and I'll show you guys. Once again, it's just kind of like pounding the old ones out, but you just kind of tap around the outside. So you just get a punch, whatever works for you, and you'll just kind of make sure you stay on the edge and just kind of tap them in. You want to make sure to go very equally. Alright, we're getting close. Alright, you guys hear how solid that is? Alright, that brace is sealed, cannot go any further in. So what we could do is we could grease this bearing up and then put it in here and then put the wheel seal on, but we're going to wait. Then obviously you want to make sure that any dust, anything that can get down under this race is removed. Then this one I actually have the correct size seal driver for it. And just like that, we are where we need to be. So it's time to pack the wheel bearings. I'm just going to take some in the hands, spread some out on the outside of the wheel bearing, then we're going to rub it into the palm. And I'll show you what it's doing. If you never packed wheel bearings, it's really easy. But you basically just want to do that, and then you can see it packing up through the race. Just a bunch of that. Okay, so now that we've got this one packed, what I'm going to do is take a whole handful and rub it on the inside of the wheel. I want plenty of grease to be down in there. Once it gets hot, it can all melt. Alright, and then we just place the wheel bearing on here. Obviously I meant wheel seal, I just said the wrong thing. And then we're just going to lightly tap around the outside. And then I'm going to tap this just a little bit further in. I pound the wheel bearing until it's bottomed out inside of this. There's a different lip that it bottoms on. Alright, so since that's done, we're going to flip this over. We're going to pack this wheel bearing, and then we'll be sliding the hub on. Alright, so now that we're about ready to put the hub back on, I'm going to lightly grease this entire thing. I'm going to drop this pack bearing into the hub. We're going to try and get as much grease off my gloves and onto the spindle. Okay. Super easy. All right, you just slide that in there, and then we're going to grab our lock nut set. All right, so for my D60, I went with the Yukon 10008 kit. It's for a Dana 50, Dana 60, a bunch of different stuff. This is just a normal kit. Got your sticker, yeet. And then we've got 3 different pieces. We've got one nut here that's flat on both sides. We've got one that's got a pin on one side. And then we've got this holy washer. Holy washer, right? All right. So what we got to do is we need to put the one with the pin right there, facing out. We're going to torque it down. And then we're going to align this with the groove in the spindle. However it aligns. We may have to either tighten it or loosen it or pull it out and flip it. And then we'll end up torquing this side. This will go on the last side. So it'll end up being stacked up kind of like this inside the axle. I always just put the nut in the socket first and then just slide it all in there. Alright, once it's snug, I'll grab my wrench and just put a little bit of torque on it. And I'm not talking like much. We will actually torque it here in a minute, but just a little bit. And then I give it like 15 spins just to try and work all that grease, set that bearing the way it's going to set. Alright, and then what we do is grab our torque wrench, set it to 50 foot-pounds. And then what we'll do is we will torque this while spinning it. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now that I have it torqued down to 50 foot-pounds, we are going to grab this, put it on my ratchet, and we're going to loosen it back up, and then we're going to do it again. And we do that just to make sure that the bearings are all set and everything is fine. We're going to get it to where it's snug, alright? And then we're going to torque it down while spinning this. Alright. And now, seems counterproductive, but we're going to back it off about a quarter of a turn, so 90 degrees. It's about perpendicular. And then we're going to take it right down to there. Everything spins freely. So then, as I was saying, you take this, you look inside here, figure out where this keyway fits into the spline, and then hopefully you drop it down in there and it goes over that pin. Okay, so it did not just go together. Alright, I don't know which way this was because it fell when I pulled it out, so we're just going to try it again. Alright, that side doesn't work, so let's try and get this out without dropping it this go around. Alright, now we're going to flip it. Do the same thing. Alright, so neither side lines up with a pin. We're going to just give it a tiny amount of tighten. There we go. Alright, now we're just going to slide the other ring on here. Then we're going to torque it down to 65. I've read some conflicting information, but this is just a lock ring. And I'd much rather it be a little tight than loose, because if this thing comes loose, everything in there goes apart, you lose your preload, you wipe your bearings out. I don't want to have to be back in here. Alright, now we just want to make sure that it's still nice and loose. And when I say loose, you know, it rolls nicely, it doesn't fight, nothing's bound up. And now, we need to go grab the hubs. We're almost done. So I'm going with the AVM hubs. I like these a lot. From all my research, these seem to be made where the old Super Winch hubs were. They're made in Brazil and not China. You know, take that with what you will. I like them. What I really like is, compared to the other ones that I just pulled out of my 10 bolt, which this may be a common thing, but these are tapered. And the other ones in my 10 bolt were just normal cap screws, and water would get in there. So I like that these have the ability to seal up better. And then also, what I like about these is the O-ring is on the face, so it'll seal up here rather than on the inside. So to assemble these hubs, what we're going to do is we're going to slide these in. We're going to put the little C-clip on the axle shaft, which I might have to do something to show you guys how to get to it. I'm going to very slightly lube this up. I don't want a whole lot of grease on here, but just a tiny amount, just so that this stuff moves around inside. We're also going to grease these splines. Just to make sure that all this stuff moves freely. I don't want to pack it full of grease. I just want enough to keep it from seizing up and having any issues like that. Okay. Alright guys, so I seated this, and let's see if I can get this where you can see better. Okay, so what I found is that when you shove this thing in here, you can't necessarily get to the groove on the axle shaft. What you can do is take your hand on the inside of the knuckle, and you can push the axle shaft through the hub, and that will allow you to get to that groove. It took me kind of an embarrassing long amount of time to realize that. And then I'm going to show you a way to cheese this. Normally you have to have a pair of C-clip pullers or pliers that I don't have. So normally you need a pair of C-clip pliers that have like the teeth that you can grab onto this with. But I'm going to show you how I do it without them. It's probably a lot more frustrating than just buying the correct tool, but I'm just trying to make do with what I've got right now. So you just get it kind of close, spread it, and then apply pressure going straight back. And you can usually get it to go over the shaft. And then by the time this is done, I may have to push that axle shaft back through the hub, but we'll see. Okay, so we did that. Okay, so what I was saying is I'm going to have to shove the axle shaft back through the hub. And now we got to try and very delicately tap this thing back in. Yep, it's not going to work with me. I'm going to see if I can hit this with a hammer just enough to get it to push in. No. Let's see if I can... There we go. See? You can get it done. It's just harder. What does that take me? 2 minutes? 3 minutes? 15 minutes, I don't know. Okay, now that that inner hub is in, you just got to put this clip onto the outer hub. Really easy. We'll grab these bolts and then we will very lightly grease this, just enough to keep it moving inside there. Okay, so we have got this all assembled. I'm going to just lock this one and we're going to test it. You heard it click in. We're rotating the rotor over there. Now we're rotating the pinion, which it'll do either or. That's all unlocked. And then we're going to unlock it. And what I noticed about these is that they kind of like a little bit of reverse to actually unlock. We'll try it going forward. Actually, this one unlocked right away. So maybe the additional pressure. That's locked. It locks in. We're rotating the axle shafts. We're going to unlock it. So it stays locked for a second. When you back it up, now it unlocks. So that's just a quirk of this style, but I like the way that it locks up a lot more than the ones on my 10 bolt, that's for sure. Well guys, that's all there is to putting the hubs together on this axle. If you guys like this, please remember to like, share, subscribe, leave your thoughts below. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and hopefully it's helpful for you.